Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
We believe life is about how we react. All right, everybody, thank you for listening. I am Sean.
That's
Seriously?
weird. Are you okay, buddy?
No, I am Kyle, and that is Sean.
Take a deep breath. I'm Sean over here. Hey, guys, what's up? Welcome back.
All right, Sean, all right. We have an awesome interview today, but I wanted to start with a couple of stories.
Okay.
And I'm gonna keep this brief, but so I crashed on my trike last week. It was like 65 outside. And so I took a ride, and it was absolutely amazing. I was feeling so good. There was tons of people out on the bike trail walking dogs and stuff like that. So
was there snow
cruising
or
down.
ice?
No,
Okay.
no snow, no ice.
Right.
It was really nice. So I'm going down the bike trail. I'm totally not being reckless, but I'm going fast because I'm feeling good, right? Yeah. So, and I had passed a bunch of people with walking their dogs and stuff. So I see this lady with her little tiny white dog, and it's right next to her feet, and she has it on a short leash, and I'm like, all right, no problem with this one. You know, I can pass it without thinking because it's not going to be an issue. So I started looking down the trail even farther at like other things that I have to watch out for, right?
Sure.
So I had like basically forgotten about this dog. Right when I pass it,
Oh, no.
it gets freaked out and barks right in my ear. And so at that point, I had like totally forgotten about this dog, and then it barks right in my ear. My hands were on the handlebars, and it freaked me out. So I jerked the handle,
Whoops.
and I totally yard sailed in the middle of the trail.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like laying in the trail. My trike's on its side. One foot is still clipped into the thing. And I'm so pissed because to me, this little dog caused my crash, right? But like, what a stupid reason to crash, crash in the middle of the trail, right? So this lady comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, how can I help?" And I was pissed at her and her dog.
Yep.
So I tried not to show it because I think I knew in the moment that like that would be lame to like blame this whole thing on this little dog. So
And somewhat embarrassing. I mean, later. Because really all the dog did was bark, which is exactly what dogs do.
Yeah, I know. So anyway,
man.
I've got some road rash on my elbow, but I kept it together more or less. And there were a couple of people that offered to help, and I was just like, leave me alone.
Wow.
I need to get back on and go.
Well, it was nice of her to stop and check in on you, and I'm proud of you for keeping your composure. I do have a question, though, and maybe this is more embarrassing for me because I've never heard the phrase yard sailed.
Oh, well, did you ever go skiing when you were young?
Like once or twice. I hated snow skiing.
So
Not my
a
thing.
yard sale is mainly in skiing, and it's when somebody totally bails on the mountain and their skis fall off and they all go in other directions and their poles are all over the place and they're just a mess in the middle of the hill. So that I related that to.
So it has nothing
trail.
to do with the yard or sailing or yard sales.
No,
Okay.
No, but it's like you're splaying out everything you own for people to look at.
Okay.
You know?
All right. I'll take it. Thank you for breaking that down.
All right, there you go. Good stuff.
And you had another story, right? This one I think I know about, so I'm pretty excited to hear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to let everyone know that I will be an Uber driver soon.
yes. I cannot wait.
I was like, you know what? I want to see what it's like on the other side of the equation. Maybe I'll make a couple extra bucks, which is cool. But really, it's I want to see what it is, and hopefully it'll be some good content for the podcast for us to laugh about and talk about.
Sure, there's going to be great content. Whether it's I'm excited. It's going to be good. Although I'm getting curious about that and how it might work for, a lot of shared driver, Uber, Lyft, or whatever. They tend to get out of the car and maybe help me with luggage, which I know they don't have to, but most of the time they do. Is there some way to put a note on yours, or does it matter? Like, if somebody were to expect you to get out and help, just by looking at you through the window, they're not going to know anything.
Right. So for maybe if there's a new listener or something, Sean, you're talking about the fact that I use a wheelchair. Correct. And I'm not going to be able to get out and lift someone's luggage in. Yeah, no, I've thought of that. And I actually talked to my last Uber driver. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, no, I don't think you need to get out. Just give it a try and see what happens. And, I am going to have my wheelchair in the van. So when someone gets in and they see it, they're going to understand. And when they see I'm driving with hand controls instead of my feet,
they're going to cancel the ride. And you're like, peace.
Just get out. Can you please stop so I can get out?
You know what? No, man. I was looking for an Uber. Sorry. Yeah. That's terrible. Well, I'm excited. That'll be good. Maybe you'll help educate some people that don't realize that you can drive with hand controls.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm going to have some people looking down at my feet being like, wait, what? And, yeah.
I guarantee you.
It'll be interesting.
I guarantee you'll end up in Instagram stories and Snapchat stories and you'll never know it.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I'll post my Instagram name somewhere in the car so people can tag me if they want.
You could, a lot of drivers I've seen make signs for the back of the seat that says, pick up your garbage and tip if you want. But you could do one that's just all your handles, the podcast or the book or you, Kyle Bryant, whatever. It could make for cool conversations.
So I applied, and in my application process, I discovered that my car inspection is out of date. So I gotta go get that done, and that's the final piece I need to be an official driver.
All right. I'm excited, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
This probably means they're gonna be, at least right now, while it's still kind of cold and wintry, you're going to be pumping more gas in the snow. And if I remember correctly, that you don't enjoy that.
No, that's my pet peeve. So maybe I will also give the attendant thing a try.
Yeah, there you go.
Too, where I ask for assistance. And see how that works, because I've never done that, and maybe I can report back on that as well.
Well, I know and I'm sure every single listener is looking forward to an Uber story or two, so I look forward to seeing how that unfolds. Before we get into our interview, we did bring on a guest today, and we're about to bring on a guest, and when we recorded this in conversation, there was a bit of delay in the recording. So the individual Mike, an incredible guest with a beautiful story of overcoming circumstances, he was on his phone, and he kind of lives, I believe, kind of in the country. So a bit of technology delay there, but not the end of the world. Hopefully you can forgive that and just kind of lock in on the content. There are also two things I want to mention that he mentioned in the interview, but we didn't have the chance to define. So just for your reference, Mike is going to mention NAF, which is the National Ataxia Foundation, and this is who he's raising money on behalf of. NAF is another leader in the ataxia community that's working with scientists and researchers in the patient community for all types of ataxia. Mike is also going to mention Ed, which is a good friend of his who also has ataxia, that is taking part in the march with Mike that Mike talks about here in just a minute. So without further ado, here is our conversation with Mike DeRosa.
All right, our guest today is Mike DeRosa, and he's doing a really awesome thing. He was diagnosed with I'll let Mike explain it. Ataxia. I actually don't know what kind of ataxia, so we'll have Mike get into that a little bit. But he's doing a march to raise awareness, and you know what? I'll just let Mike tell you. So, Mike, welcome
Nobody
to the
wants
podcast.
to hear from you, Kyle. Mike, where you at?
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, Kyle and Sean. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, man.
Hanging in
Thanks
there.
for joining us
Doing
today.
well today. First of all, tell us about ataxia and your diagnosis.
I really didn't know what the heck was going on years ago. I had come back from serving overseas, and about a month after I got back, I just started having all these symptoms, and everything was so progressive, and it was really hard for me to cope with. And I was, every time you do something, it seemed like it was so hard to complete a task. I started researching symptoms, and I went to go see a neurologist. And for brevity's sake, the first doctor thought it was ALS, and then after 2 weeks of testing, that was not swept under the rug, but thrown away. And then for about 10 months, it was primary progressive MS, because as you guys know, a lot of these neurological issues all mimic one another, so it's a process of elimination. Finally ended up firing those doctors and went to the Mayo Clinic, and they're just amazing people over there, and they diagnosed me after numerous tests of 2 different weeks of going up there with ataxia. And when I saw a specialist, the doctor was like, "Hey, you need to get this panel of testing done, and just give your insurance company, make sure they'll pay for it." I'm like, "Oh, are you kidding me? I'm retired military. My insurance is great. I'm good to go." Come to find out, they're like, "No, we're not paying for that."
Oh, man. Yikes.
So after 3 years of battling back and forth, after 3 years of battling with them, they finally approved and took the full panel, and all came up negative. So I am at an unknown type of ataxia.
Okay. So basically what that means is just they just don't know, like, well, one of two things, right? I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but either they haven't discovered it yet, or it just might take a lot more effort to figure it out, right? Is that, I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, that's spot on, because after I get the results back, I went to my doctor and I was like, "See, look, it's not ataxia. You guys go back to the drawing board." He said, No, it is ataxia. So, well, then it's not hereditary. He says, "Well, you have ataxia. It very well could be, but the type that you have, the scientists and the medical community just have not not diagnosed, but found that mutation that you have. So that was at the end of 2012 or early 2013, and so you just learned to cope with those changes that you notice. That depending on how big or small they are, you just kind of adjust. When I was went in the Army, I was in the artillery as a forward observer, and so we would call rounds onto the enemy target. So we would adjust our fire. So I kind of use that analogy there with myself on when I see changes, I adjust fire. I adjust myself to that new way I have to do things, and we do that in our community on a daily, weekly basis. From the very start until now, I've definitely seen the difference because I've learned how to manage that, and you had, and they use all these medical terms, dysauthy and all that, So my speech was really, I don't know. I was trying to speak as quickly as I was thinking, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Sure.
But when your speech is labored or you're slurring, you obviously have to slow everything down. And I taught myself, one, slow down, and then once I got to a speed that I could handle, there'd be words or phrases that I wasn't able to handle as good as I was talking. So then I would have to break that word or phrase down into syllables. My gait was a big thing.
Tell us about the Bataan Death March, and you mentioned gait, and so I think the challenge. First of all, I'm going to have you explain what the challenges you're taking on, but I think it really relates to fighting back against ataxia because ataxia causes a difficulty in gait. So tell us what that is and what you're trying to do.
Well, so for a long time, I've known about Bataan and always wanted to do it, but obviously I couldn't. Being in the military, I was away from home quite a bit, and so Bataan Death March, the Memorial Bataan Death March, takes place in March of every year, and usually during that time of the year I was gone. So I kept thinking more and more about it as I was a contractor serving overseas, but I was still having some small issues. The big issues happened when I got back, and my gait became much more of an issue. Stiffness in the legs. My right side's affected more, and of course, being in the military, I joined when I was 17, and I served 23 years, never had a break in service. So fitness was on your daily. It was a daily regimen. So that's always been very high for me, high on the list for me, and I've maintained that even after retirement. Sometimes, during my initial time of finding out I had ataxia and learning how to cope with it, the amount of time I spent staying fit declined. And I think, probably, depression set in too, because that's one thing that can happen. But I got back on the horse, and I just started working out more, back to 6 days a week, and just trying to walk more. just in everyday activities, you actually, everybody walks probably 2-3 miles a day and doesn't realize just from the small things.
Yeah.
So I just kept adding more and more things to do, and before you know it, it just started adding up the miles. So I did Baton last year, and I said, I want to try to raise some money from that, because now that I'm part of this community, I want to do everything I can to reach that end state, and that's to find the cure. And whatever little part I could do, I want to do. So I did that, and I raised. It was almost $8,000 total from 2 different fundraising campaigns, and then I met Ed, and he was asking me about it because he had piqued his interest, and I sent him information, and he was like, "Hey, I'm in," and so we just kept talking back and forth about this, and he's been training, and this is something I've now, as long as I can continue to do this and stay fit, I want to do this as an effort for raising funds every single year for NAF. And I've been doing a lot of brainstorming. I want to try to get out to all corners of the globe and all over the U.S. There's a lot of great areas you can go and walk and
so you said it was a memorial march. Tell us about the original Baton Death March. What is it memorializing?
Well, back in World War II, U.S. soldiers, our infantry guys, some of our Marines, served in the Philippines, and we had some of our guys on island of Baton working with the Filipino infantry, and they were, logistics was very tough back then. It's not like it is today. And so all those men were already on half rations. So, you take whatever, look at your dinner, right? That's a full-size meal for you. We'll call that a ration. Now cut that in half. And that's what these men were eating every day. One meal every day, half rations. And when the Japanese took over the island, they all became prisoners of war. And then the Japanese cut their rations in half. So now they're on quarter rations. So when you look at pictures, which I know we've all seen them before, of the Holocaust and the victims that were of the Holocaust, and the camps that the Germans had, that's what some of these guys look like. When I've gone back to research and seen some of the photos, and they forced marched them over 60 miles to the POW camp where they ended up at. Now, during that time, if someone could not make it because of whatever physical capacity or just whatever the case may be, there were a number of ways that the Japanese would kill these prisoners of war, and brutal means. And so I want to say it was over 30 years ago that an Army element, I want to say it was a ROTC element out there, and I believe it's because they have a big Filipino community as well out there, wanted to commemorate this, and they came up with this annual memorial death march. And it's an amazing time. There's so many people. There were over 7,000 people that showed up to do this last year, and I think they expect more this year.
Oh, that's a huge number. So, real quick, the death march is in the middle of the desert, so they've done their best to sort of highlight the sort of circumstances that existed in the middle of the war or in this period of time. How long is that march? Did you already say it's equal to a marathon, right? 26.2 or something similar?
They have two routes. They have an honorary march, which is 14.7 miles. And then they have the full marathon, 26.2 miles.
Okay, cool. So what makes this an ideal thing to raise money for Ataxia?
I'm not quite sure it's ideal. I mean, there's so many other fundraising efforts going on that don't take on this kind of distance, But because it all started because I was in the military, and I always wanted to do it, and I saw that as a way that if I'm going to do a fundraiser, for people to feel, I don't know, a way that they want to give, that I felt like I needed to put forth a big effort in order for them to say, you know what, this guy has got this disease. He's doing something that's going to fight against the disease, and he's doing it all for this community that's afflicted, and they haven't found a cure yet. So I just figured, why not do that? And now it's become a thing because we're doing it the second year in a row.
Yeah, I think to me it makes sense given your 23 years of service in the military, and now not the challenge that comes with Ataxia to take on such a brutal walk or march is such an incredible feat. So, first of all, a couple things, Ed. Thank you for 23 years of service. And then, of course, thank you for what you're doing to impact this community of Ataxians all over the globe. It's an honor to chat with you and, of course, hear your story. And I'm moved by your commitment to just walk no matter how hard it may be and raise money and awareness at the same time.
Yep, I second that for sure, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Find us online at twodisableddudes.com and please subscribe on the iTunes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And special thanks to our audio producer, Jake Tompkins.
Until next time, keep living with urgency.